Hey folks, we're really lucky today because we got Sam Ashton here. Now what Sam is, he's a bit of a guru because he's written for TalkTV a written article, which has been on a band called She Had. You can tell I don't know too much because She Had's been around for a while, hasn't it, Sam?
Yeah, absolutely. I think She Had formed in 1988 down in Wellington. I think two of the guys, I'm not 100% sure about this, but two of the guys were at one of the schools down in Wellington, and they just formed a band. They said, we love music, we're going to chuck a band together, and now they're one of the most successful bands of all time, New Zealand-wise, of course.
See, you can see I know nothing about music, but when I read your article, man, it actually had me going, one of the interview with them, so you had a link to that, and the other one was to their new album, which, guess what, I went and had a look at it. I went and had a listen to it on, I guess we can't play it, but I just had a listen to it on, what do you call it, not...
Spotify?
Spotify, yeah. See, there you go, I'm struggling
What
here.
do you think of it?
Well, I actually I didn't realise I'm a bit of a fan of sort of hard rock stuff.
Oh, yeah.
You know, AC/DC and what's that big pommy band?
Oh, God, there's too many of them.
Oh, no, it's a big old-timer one.
Not The Clash?
No,
Not
heavy rock.
Black Sabbath?
I can't think of it. Guns N' Roses.
Guns N' Roses?
Yeah, I love that. So I like a bit of... Oh, you don't like that?
I think Axl Rose is a bit of a dick, but I like Guns N' Roses.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like their music. Same kind of goes with, there's probably plenty of bands. All rock stars are a bit of dicks, so it doesn't matter.
Well, I got to say, I do employment law.
Oh, yeah.
So I sued the guy Rudd, who's
Phil
from
Rudd,
AC/DC. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And wow, God, he was an entertaining guy just in the hearing, but that's another story for another day.
Story, yeah, absolutely.
So She Has been around for a while. So what I thought was, I was there to look at 20-year-olds, but these guys are about in their 50s, right?
Yeah, I think they're kind of late 40s, early 50s, kind of getting older, I guess, getting on. No offense, guys, if you are watching by any means, but no, they've been around for, like I said, 1988. I think they formed roughly, and since kind of then they've been really popular in New Zealand, pretty much. Just releasing music, and I think they tried to make it over in America, but I think there were some complications around the name Shehad, because I think Shehad was a play on words from the word jihad, and especially in post 9/11 America.
Whoa, yeah, that would have been controversial.
Yeah, and that was kind of the time, late 90s, early 2000s, where they were really, because they'd made it big in New Zealand. They were one of the most popular bands in New Zealand, and they were just trying to make it in America go over, and I don't think they were too keen on that, unfortunately.
What I was just going to say is the band really is quite dynamic, and what I was interested to know is how they make music. Now, Sam, I understand you're in a rock band, aren't you?
Yes, I am.
What's your role in that?
I'm the bass player. I play bass and I do some back-end vocals and just all that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Well, naive to music, I looked at Phil Rudd when I was suing him. Sorry, Phil. He got some hitmen out for some people who were doing some damage to him at that time.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
I thought I was in the gun, but I escaped that. But he was a dynamic guy. I've got only good things to say about him.
Awesome.
But what I watched about AC/DC is that really he was the foundation of a lot of their music. That drumming, the beat. But it's not always that way, is it?
If we're talking AC/DC, pretty much, if you ask any drummer, any musician, there's kind of a running joke that AC/DC just pretty much recycle the 4/4 drum beat, which is like a type thing. That's all of their songs, and some people might say, oh, it's kind of boring, it's kind of overused, it's kind of simple. But AC/DC make it work because, AC/DC have like songs that everyone loves. Everyone loves a couple of AC/DC songs. And that just consistent, really punchy drums really make it like, just make the song great. Keeps everyone in time and dancing and stuff. And it's the same with Ringo Starr. Ringo kind of got a bit of flack for being a weird drummer at the time.
Well, mundane, wasn't he? Was sort of was not much dynamics to him.
Exactly, but there's actually a video on YouTube. I think it's made by Ludwig, who make drums, who got a bunch of famous drummers in and kind of got them to talk about how influential Ringo Starr was to them, and just seeing like some of the things he could have done, a very basic thing he could have done in the song, as opposed to what he did, was just really, really creative, even though it was just like a couple like different beats on different drums. But it just changed the whole feel of the song.
Well, listen to you, Sam. You're the big time bass player. From my perspective, from my perspective, a bass player is nobody of substance and significant. He just sits there and you don't even notice what he's doing, and all you're doing is doom, 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 doom. Now, I can see the insult in his face. He's hating that.
Thanks for having me, Max. It was good to see you.
He's out of here.
I'm going to go and have a cry in my car. No, well, that is a stereotypical bass player. 100%, just kind of standing there, minding their own business. You look at John Entwistle from The Who. his bass playing is like revolutionary for the time. I think this is 1960s, 70s when the Who were really famous. He'd stand there and he'd be playing these nutty bass lines, but he said himself in interviews that he was just really bored. All the stuff he was playing was just really easy for him. That's why he never did anything. But I mean, for me personally, a big part of my band's kind of performative aspect is we are loud. We want to have a good show for people. We want to make a great show for people. People are paying to see us, so we want to get out there and just really...
And the band's name?
Late to Chelsea is the name of the
Late
band.
Chelsea.
Late to Chelsea, yeah.
Right, that was the last promotion we're doing on this show for you. But anyway, look, just getting back to bass playing. So you see a lot, like a lead singer can actually take over the whole dynamics of a piece. I mean, that's a pretty broad statement and not always true.
I mean, it's pretty accurate. It's like, I mean, if you look at guys like David Lee Roth.
But can you? In some bits of your music, do you actually take a lead or actually change the momentum and change the speed of the rhythm? And do you have that power and control?
I have a lot of my role as the bass player in my band is just to really bring fullness to the sound. My tone is very punchy, a little bit overdriven. So it just like the guitars are also quite distorted. So we have two guitars that kind of come together and the bass kind of pushes that sound through the next level, as well as giving it like a kind of underlying rumble.
Yep.
So it's like you're listening to it in like your car or some headphones, and it just sounds really full, which is good. It's kind of hard to explain unless you listen to music with and without bass. But I'm very, very picky with my tone. If I was to describe my tone as like being punched in the face by King Kong.
Oh, really?
Really, like, it's not very kind of standard, like a boom, boom, boom. It's very noisy, lots of overdrive.
Oh, big time. Well, then how can we get hold and listen to a bit of this stuff?
Well, I was going to bring my bass in today, but I actually don't have an amp. My amp blew up a couple of days ago, which is a bit of a bummer.
Do you know what I'd love it to happen? If next time you come here, when you describe a piece of music, you talked about The Who before, for example, we should play a few seconds of it and just demonstrate the point you're making.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I'm now keen to have a catch-up. I'd love to hear some of your stuff.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And just give a few seconds of it. That would be fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely. Next time I could definitely bring my stuff and just need to save up a bit of money to buy some new gear. As I said, I like to crank my sound.
Well, any people out there, if you want to go and support this young fella. And by the way, how old are you?
I'm 20. 20.
Are you only 20?
Just 20. Fresh out.
And you know all this shit?
Oh, I mean, this is just me sitting in a dark room just sifting through Google over time. But yeah, I suppose you could say I know all that shit.
And, I mean, that's what you do for an occupation, is play in a band?
Not full-time. I'm a full-time student. I'm doing a Bachelor of Communications at AUT, majoring in radio and journalism. But, yeah.
Well, you got the personality for radio. I like it. I think you got pretty cool. I want to get you back here. You've got it. You really have got something.
You too, Colin. Thank you very much.
You want money now, folks. Be careful.
Yeah, like minimum $1,000 a minute,
Oh.
It's good rates. Very, very, it's pretty fair, I reckon.
By the way, he was only joking. $1,000. Like, you've got a future, though. You've got to keep your head high, brother.
100%. I'm going to be grinding. You're going to see me on the waves. And if I'm not on the waves, you'll be seeing me at Spark Arena a couple of years from now with my band. That's the goal. Music.
So the next host to be on this show will be you, probably, questioning me. All right, you bloody beaten up old fella. Has been. Well, you've had your day.
Don't be hard on yourself, Max. Yeah, don't even think about it.
All right, well, let's get you back sometime. We'll do all this again.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me, Max. It's a great time.
Well, next time we'll get some of your music in here. We'll go and have a listen. And what I'd like you to describe for me is describing what music's about, because I do know there's some foundations to music, and I want to know, is it consistent? Has it always happened to other songs? So teach me stuff. I really am keen.
Yeah, absolutely.